Imagine standing on the shores of ancient Troy, a city that once stood as a symbol of power and glory, now known for a war that has echoed through millennia. The story of the Trojan War is not just about a single battle or a wooden horse. It's a tapestry woven with drama, betrayal, divine intervention, and the unyielding spirit of heroes and mortals alike. This legendary conflict has shaped our understanding of mythology, inspiring countless works of art, literature, and even modern storytelling. But what if I told you that some of the most fascinating tales of the Trojan War remain hidden in the shadows of history? Myths that go beyond the familiar story of Helen's abduction or Achilles' Wrath. Today, we're diving into 20 captivating myths about the Trojan War stories that will challenge what you thought you knew and reveal the lesser-known layers of this epic saga. From the gods' tangled schemes to the fates of forgotten heroes, this journey promises to unveil the myths that continue to captivate us even after thousands of years. So, are you ready to uncover the secrets of the Trojan War? Let's begin. Now, let's step into the heart of the Trojan War's origins with the myth of the Apple of Discord. It all began with a simple act of mischief by Eris, the goddess of strife. When she wasn't invited to a grand wedding, she decided to stir up chaos. Eris tossed a golden apple into the feast, inscribed with the words "to the fairest." This seemingly small gesture sparked a rivalry among three powerful goddesses, Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite, each claiming the apple for herself. To settle the dispute, they turned to Paris, a prince of Troy, to judge who was the most beautiful. Each goddess offered him a tempting bribe. Hera promised power, Athena offered wisdom, and Aphrodite vowed to give him the love of the most beautiful woman in the world, Helen of Sparta. Paris chose Aphrodite, sealing his fate and setting the stage for disaster. His decision led him to abduct Helen, which enraged her husband Menelaus and ignited the Trojan War. This myth shows how a single act of discord, fueled by pride and desire, can unravel into a conflict that would shape history. As the story unfolds, we come to one of the most debated moments in the Trojan War, the abduction of Helen. Paris, guided by Aphrodite's promise, traveled to Sparta where he met Helen, the wife of King Menelaus. What happened next has been the subject of countless interpretations. Some versions of the myth suggest that Helen fell in love with Paris and left willingly, swept away by passion and the allure of a new life. Others claim she was taken by force, a victim of Paris's ambition and the gods' manipulation. This uncertainty adds layers of complexity to Helen's character, making her both a figure of sympathy and controversy. Known as the face that launched 1,000 ships, Helen's beauty became the catalyst for the war, as her abduction united the Greek forces under Menelaus and Agamemnon to reclaim her. Yet, the myth raises profound questions about her agency. Was she a willing participant in her own story, or a pawn in the schemes of gods and men? This moral ambiguity continues to captivate audiences, reminding us that the lines between victim and provocateur are often blurred in the tales of ancient mythology. Stepping into the next chapter of the story, we encounter a pivotal moment that shaped the destiny of the Trojan War, the Oath of Tyndareus. Helen's father, Tyndareus, faced a daunting challenge when suitors from across Greece sought his daughter's hand in marriage. To prevent chaos and potential conflict, he devised a clever plan. Tyndareus required all of Helen's suitors to swear a solemn oath. They would protect and defend her chosen husband, whoever he might be, against any threats to their union. This oath was not just a formality, but a binding agreement that carried immense weight. Among those who took the oath were many of Greece's most powerful leaders, including Odysseus, Menelaus, and Agamemnon. When Paris abducted Helen, this vow became the glue that united the Greek forces, compelling even those who were reluctant to honor their promise and join the campaign against Troy. The consequences of this oath were far-reaching, as it turned personal loyalties into a collective cause, setting the stage for one of the most legendary conflicts in ancient history. The Oath of Tyndareus serves as a reminder of how promises once made can have unintended and profound impacts, shaping the course of events in ways no one could have foreseen. As the tale unfolds, we meet Cassandra, the Trojan princess gifted with the power of prophecy but cursed by Apollo to never be believed. Blessed with the ability to see the future, Cassandra's visions were both a gift and a torment. She foresaw the fall of Troy, including the Greeks' treacherous use of the Trojan Horse, and desperately warned her people, but her words fell on deaf ears, dismissed as madness or lies. The curse of Apollo ensured that no matter how accurate her predictions, they were doomed to be ignored. Cassandra's plight is a heartrending symbol of ignored wisdom, a tragic reminder of how insight, no matter how profound, can be rendered powerless by disbelief. Her story underscores the futility of resisting fate, even when it is clearly foretold. As Troy's walls crumbled, Cassandra's warnings were proven true, but by then it was too late. Her tragedy serves as a powerful lesson about the consequences of dismissing truth and the inescapable nature of destiny. In her, we see not just a seer, but a figure of profound sorrow, whose voice was silenced by the very curse that gave her the gift of foresight. Now stepping into the heart of the Trojan War, we encounter one of its most defining forces, the wrath of Achilles. This myth begins with a bitter quarrel between Achilles, the greatest warrior of the Greeks, and Agamemnon, their leader. The dispute erupted over Briseis, a woman taken as a war prize, whom Agamemnon claimed for himself after being forced to return his own captive. Enraged by this insult to his honor, Achilles withdrew from the battlefield, vowing not to fight until his pride was restored. His absence left the Greeks vulnerable, and the tide of war began to turn against them. Achilles' wrath wasn't just personal, it became a pivotal force that shaped the conflict. His refusal to fight led to a series of devastating losses for the Greeks, culminating in the death of his closest companion, Patroclus. Driven by grief and guilt, Achilles returned to the battlefield with a vengeance, unleashing his fury on the Trojans and ultimately facing Hector in a fateful duel. This myth is a profound exploration of pride, honor, and the human cost of war. Achilles' wrath reminds us of the fragility of human emotions and the tragic consequences that can arise when honor is threatened. Through his story, we see the duality of heroism, both its glory and its devastating toll. As the story unfolds, we come to one of the most heart-wrenching moments of the Trojan War, the death of Patroclus. Patroclus, Achilles' closest companion, could no longer stand by and watch the Greeks suffer defeat. Desperate to turn the tide of battle, he took a bold and fateful step, donning Achilles' armor to inspire the troops and lead them into combat. For a time, his presence on the battlefield renewed the Greek spirit, but his bravery would come at a terrible cost. Hector, the mightiest warrior of Troy, confronted Patroclus and after a fierce struggle struck him down. The loss of Patroclus sent shockwaves through the Greek camp, but it was Achilles who felt the deepest agony. Consumed by grief and guilt over his absence from the fight, Achilles' sorrow turned to an unrelenting thirst for vengeance. This tragedy marked a turning point in the war as Achilles re-entered the battle with a singular focus: to avenge his friend. The bond between Achilles and Patroclus was more than just camaraderie. It was a profound connection that underscored the themes of loyalty and loss in the epic. Through Patroclus' death, we witness the devastating consequences of war not only on the battlefield but also in the hearts of those left behind. His story reminds us of the human cost of conflict and the lengths to which love and friendship can drive even the greatest of heroes. As the dust settles from the loss of Patroclus, the stage is set for one of the most pivotal moments in the Trojan War, the duel of Achilles and Hector. With a heart heavy with grief and a mind consumed by rage, Achilles re-enters the battlefield, determined to avenge his fallen friend. Hector, Troy's greatest warrior, stands ready to defend his city, fully aware of the peril he faces. The confrontation between these two heroes is not just a clash of strength but a collision of destinies. Hector, though outmatched, fights with unyielding courage, his every move a testament to his valor and devotion to Troy. But Achilles, fueled by wrath and divine armor gifted by Hephaestus, proves unstoppable. The duel is fierce and unrelenting, a testament to the skill and determination of both warriors. In the end, Achilles triumphs, striking Hector down with a fatal blow. Yet, even in victory, Achilles' wrath does not subside. In a moment of profound disrespect, he desecrates Hector's body, dragging it behind his chariot in a display of vengeance that shocks both allies and enemies. This act of cruelty, however, does not go unchallenged. Priam, Hector's grieving father, braves the Greek camp to plead for his son's body. Moved by the king's courage and the memory of his own father, Achilles relents, allowing Hector's body to be returned to Troy for a proper burial. This duel is more than a battle between two warriors. It is a reflection of the complexities of honor, grief, and humanity in the midst of war. Through this tragic encounter, we see the cost of pride, the weight of loss, and the fragile threads of compassion that persist even in the darkest of times. With the duel of Achilles and Hector behind us, the war takes a turn toward one of the most legendary episodes in human history, the Trojan Horse. This myth is a masterstroke of cunning and deception, orchestrated by Odysseus, the cleverest of the Greek leaders. After years of grueling warfare and countless lives lost, the Greeks realized they could not defeat Troy through sheer force alone, so they turned to trickery. Odysseus devised a plan to build an enormous wooden horse, hollowed out to hide a select group of Greek warriors inside. The rest of the Greek army pretended to sail away, leaving the horse as an offering to the gods. The Trojans, believing the war was over and the horse a symbol of victory, joyfully brought it inside their walls, ignoring warnings from Cassandra and others who sensed the danger. That night, under the cover of darkness, the hidden Greeks emerged, opening the gates for their returning army. The city of Troy, caught off guard and defenseless, was swiftly sacked. This myth is a powerful exploration of deception and hubris. The Trojans, blinded by their belief in their own invincibility and lulled by the apparent end of their struggles, fell victim to their own pride. Meanwhile, the Greeks, willing to abandon honor for victory, demonstrated the lengths to which desperation and cunning can drive even the most noble of warriors. The Trojan horse remains a timeless symbol of the dangers of overconfidence and the devastating consequences of underestimating one's enemy. As we reflect on this iconic tale, we are reminded that sometimes the greatest battles are won not by strength but by wit and imagination. Now turning to the role of the gods, we see how deeply intertwined the divine and mortal worlds were during the Trojan War. The gods didn't just observe from Mount Olympus, they actively shaped the course of events, often driven by their own rivalries and desires. Take Achilles, for example. His divine lineage, being the son of the sea goddess Thetis, granted him extraordinary strength and protection, but it also made him a pawn in the gods' schemes. Thetis herself intervened multiple times, pleading with Zeus to favor the Trojans briefly to avenge the slight against her son. Zeus, the king of the gods, played a delicate balancing act, trying to maintain order while appeasing the competing demands of Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite. Hera and Athena, fiercely loyal to the Greeks, manipulated battles to weaken the Trojans, while Aphrodite, who had promised Paris Helen's hand in return for naming her the fairest, worked to protect the city and its people. Even Apollo, though often neutral, supported the Trojans at critical moments, such as guiding Paris's arrow to strike Achilles' heel. The gods' involvement wasn't just about power, it was personal. Their interventions often stemmed from old grudges, favors owed, or pride wounded. Yet for all their influence, the gods couldn't completely override human agency. Mortals like Hector, Achilles, and Odysseus made choices that shaped their own fates, even as they navigated the whims of the divine. This tension between mortal free will and divine intervention is one of the most fascinating aspects of the Trojan War, reminding us that even in a world ruled by gods, humans still held the power to determine their own destinies. As the story unfolds, we come to one of the most haunting and morally complex moments of the Trojan War, the sacrifice of Iphigenia. Agamemnon, the leader of the Greek forces, found himself in a dire predicament. The Greek fleet was stranded at Aulis, unable to set sail for Troy because of unfavorable winds sent by the goddess Artemis. In order to appease her and secure safe passage, Agamemnon was told he must offer his eldest daughter, Iphigenia, as a sacrifice. This decision tore at the very fabric of his family and soul. On one hand, Agamemnon faced the unimaginable loss of his child. On the other, he bore the responsibility of leading an entire army to fulfill their oath to reclaim Helen. The moral dilemma was profound. Was the life of one worth the success of many? Iphigenia's fate remains shrouded in differing accounts. Some versions of the myth suggest she was willingly sacrificed, understanding her death as a noble act for the greater good. Others portray her as a tragic victim, unaware of her father's plans until it was too late. Regardless of the details, her death left an indelible mark on her family. Clytemnestra, Iphigenia's mother, was consumed by grief and fury. This act of sacrifice became the catalyst for her eventual vengeance against Agamemnon, setting into motion a cycle of retribution that would haunt their house for generations. The story of Iphigenia raises profound questions about the nature of sacrifice in the context of war. It forces us to grapple with the costs of ambition, the weight of leadership, and the often devastating consequences of decisions made in the name of duty. Her myth serves as a poignant reminder of the human toll behind epic conflicts, where even the most noble causes can exact a heavy price. Now turning to the tale of Achilles' death, we encounter one of the most iconic and tragic moments in the Trojan War. Achilles, the greatest warrior of the Greeks, was said to be invulnerable except for one crucial weakness. His mother, Thetis, had dipped him in the river Styx as a child, making him nearly invincible. However, the heel by which she held him remained untouched by the water, leaving it as his only vulnerable spot. This small detail would prove to be his undoing. Despite his near immortality and unmatched prowess on the battlefield, Achilles was fated to die young. Prophecies had long foretold that he would not survive the war, a truth that seemed almost contradictory given his extraordinary strength. It was Paris, the Trojan prince, who had sparked the war by abducting Helen, who ultimately brought about Achilles' end. With the help of Apollo, the god who favored the Trojans, Paris guided an arrow to strike Achilles in his heel, the one place he could be mortally wounded. The irony of Achilles' death lies in its stark contrast to his life. He had performed countless heroic deeds, his name becoming synonymous with unmatched courage and skill. Yet it was a single, precise strike to his heel that ended his story. This moment has since become a powerful symbol of vulnerability, giving rise to the phrase Achilles' heel to describe a person's critical weakness. Achilles' legacy transcends his death, shaping not only the narrative of the Trojan War, but also the way we understand human frailty. His story reminds us that even the mightiest among us have their weaknesses, and that fate often has the final word. As we step into the final chapter of this epic saga, the fall of Troy stands as a testament to the devastating consequences of war and the cunning strategies that sealed its fate. The Greeks, after years of stalemate, devised a plan that would change everything. The infamous Trojan Horse. Crafted as an offering to the gods, this massive wooden structure concealed a select group of Greek warriors. The Trojans, believing the war was over and the horse a symbol of victory, brought it within their walls, unaware of the danger lurking inside. Under the cover of darkness, the hidden Greeks emerged, opening the gates to their waiting army. Chaos erupted as the Greeks poured into the city, unleashing destruction on a scale that left Troy in ruins. King Priam, the aged ruler of Troy, met a tragic end at the hands of Neoptolemus, Achilles' son, as he sought refuge at the altar of Zeus. Queen Hecuba, Priam's wife, was captured and enslaved, her cries of grief echoing the loss of her family and city. Andromache, wife of the fallen hero Hector, faced a similar fate, her life forever altered by the horrors of war. The Greeks' treatment of the Trojans was merciless, with little regard for age, gender, or innocence. The once proud city was reduced to ashes, its people either slain or taken as spoils of war. This catastrophic event highlights the brutal reality of conflict, where victory often comes at an unimaginable cost. The fall of Troy serves as a poignant reminder of the fragility of power and the enduring scars of war. It's a story of betrayal, loss, and the harsh lessons that history imparts, leaving an indelible mark on the collective memory of humanity. As the dust of Troy's destruction settled, the story of Helen took a controversial turn. Now turning to her fate, we find conflicting tales surrounding her return to Sparta. Some accounts suggest she was reunited with Menelaus, her husband, who chose to take her back despite the chaos she had allegedly caused. Others claim she faced trial, with her beauty swaying those who sought to judge her. Her role in the war remains a subject of debate. Was Helen a willing participant in her abduction, or was she a pawn in a divine game orchestrated by the gods? In some versions of the myth, Helen is portrayed as a victim of circumstance, caught between the desires of mortal men and the whims of deities like Aphrodite. In others, she is seen as a provocateur, using her allure to manipulate those around her. This duality has cemented her legacy as a symbol of both beauty and strife, a figure who embodies the complexities of human nature and the consequences of desire. Her return to Sparta marked the end of one chapter but the beginning of her enduring myth. Helen's story continues to captivate, serving as a reminder of the power of beauty, the fragility of loyalty, and the blurred lines between victim and perpetrator. Through her, the Trojan War leaves us with questions about agency, responsibility, and the role of fate in shaping human lives. As the fate of Helen fades into the backdrop of myth, another figure emerges from the ashes of Troy, destined to carve a legacy that would shape the ancient world. Turning our gaze to Aeneas, we find a Trojan hero whose journey transcends the fall of his city, bridging the realms of Greek and Roman mythology. Aeneas, son of the goddess Venus and the mortal Anchises, was not just a survivor but a man chosen by the gods for a greater purpose. His tale begins amidst the chaos of Troy's destruction, where he was tasked with leading a band of survivors to a new homeland. Guided by prophecy and divine intervention, Aeneas embarked on a perilous odyssey across the Mediterranean. His wanderings, immortalized in Virgil's Aeneid, were marked by trials that tested his resolve and faith. From encounters with mythical creatures like the Cyclops to the tragic love story of Dido, the Queen of Carthage, Aeneas's path was fraught with both triumph and heartbreak. Yet, through it all, he remained steadfast in his mission to establish a new city that would one day become Rome. Aeneas's significance lies not only in his role as a legendary founder, but also as a symbol of resilience and destiny. His story reflects the enduring human spirit, the ability to rise from ruin, and the belief in a higher purpose. By connecting the Trojan War to the origins of Rome, Aeneas became a cultural bridge, uniting two great civilizations in a shared mythological heritage. His journey reminds us that even in the face of devastation, the seeds of greatness can take root and flourish, shaping the course of history. As the story of Aeneas fades into the backdrop of legend, the narrative shifts to a darker tale of vengeance and fate. With the next chapter in sight, we turn to the cursed house of Atreus, a family whose history is marred by bloodshed and betrayal. At its center stands Agamemnon, the Greek king who returned triumphant from Troy, only to face a tragic end at the hands of his own wife, Clytemnestra. Her murder of Agamemnon was not just an act of revenge, but the latest link in a chain of violence that stretched back generations. The curse began with Atreus and Thyestes, Agamemnon's father and uncle, whose bitter rivalry led to unspeakable acts of cruelty. This cycle of vengeance continued with Agamemnon's sacrifice of his daughter, Iphigenia, to appease the goddess Artemis and ensure the Greek fleet could sail to Troy. Clytemnestra's grief over her daughter's death festered into rage, which she unleashed upon Agamemnon upon his return. Yet the curse did not end there. Their son, Orestes, driven by duty and divine command, avenged his father by killing Clytemnestra, an act that condemned him to madness and further perpetuated the family's suffering. The myth of the House of Atreus is a haunting exploration of generational trauma, where the sins of the past echo relentlessly into the future. It reflects the inescapable nature of fate and the destructive power of vengeance, themes that resonate deeply across time and culture. Through this tragic tale, we are reminded of the heavy cost of violence and the enduring scars it leaves behind. As the shadows of the House of Atreus loom ever darker, the story reaches its grim climax with the death of Agamemnon. The Greek king, though a hero of the Trojan War, returned home to a fate far more treacherous than the battlefield. Waiting for him was Clytemnestra, his wife, whose heart had hardened into stone over the years. Her grief over the loss of their daughter, Iphigenia, had festered into an unquenchable thirst for revenge, but Clytemnestra was not alone in her plot. Aegisthus, her lover and cousin to Agamemnon, shared her desire for vengeance, fueled by his own family's bitter feud with the House of Atreus. Together, they devised a plan to end Agamemnon's life. The moment of his death was as shocking as it was symbolic. Upon his return, Agamemnon was welcomed with apparent warmth, yet beneath the surface lay treachery. Clytemnestra invited him to bathe, a gesture of hospitality that masked her true intent. As he stepped into the bath, she struck, trapping him in a net and delivering the fatal blow. Some versions of the myth even suggest she wielded the same weapon used to sacrifice Iphigenia, adding a cruel layer of poetic justice to the act. Agamemnon's death was not merely a personal vendetta, it was a reckoning for his actions. His decision to sacrifice Iphigenia, driven by ambition and a desire to appease the gods, had left a deep wound in his family. His arrogance and refusal to acknowledge the pain he caused only deepened Clytemnestra's resolve. Yet the murder also raises questions about the nature of justice. Was Clytemnestra's act one of rightful retribution, or did it perpetuate the cycle of violence that plagued her family? This tragic tale forces us to confront the blurred lines between justice and vengeance. It reminds us that actions, no matter how noble they may seem, can have far-reaching consequences. The death of Agamemnon stands as a stark lesson about the cost of pride, the weight of guilt, and the inescapable shadow of fate. Through this myth, we see how the past continues to shape the present, leaving a legacy of pain that echoes through generations. As the dust settled over the ruins of Troy, the fate of Andromache, Hector's devoted wife, unfolded with heartbreaking inevitability. Once a queen, she was now among the spoils of war, her life irrevocably altered by the fall of her city. Taken as a captive, Andromache was enslaved by Neoptolemus, the son of Achilles, who had slain her beloved Hector. This cruel twist of fate placed her at the mercy of the man whose father had ended her husband's life, adding a layer of profound sorrow to her suffering. Yet Andromache's story does not end in despair alone. Over time, she was forced into a marriage with Helenus, another Trojan prince and a survivor of the war. Helenus, known for his prophetic abilities, shared a bond with Andromache through their shared grief and loss. Together, they found a fragile semblance of stability, though Andromache's heart remained tethered to the memory of Hector. Her enduring grief serves as a poignant reminder of the personal toll of war. Andromache's life after Troy was marked by resilience in the face of unimaginable hardship, yet she never ceased to mourn the loss of her husband and the life they once knew. Her story highlights the often overlooked suffering of women in times of conflict, who, though not wielding swords or shields, bear some of the heaviest burdens. Through Andromache, we see the human cost of war stripped of its heroic veneer. Her plight underscores the silent strength of those left behind, the women who must navigate a world shattered by violence. Her enduring grief and quiet resilience make her a powerful symbol of both loss and survival, offering a deeply human perspective on the aftermath of the Trojan War. As we reflect on her story, we are reminded that the echoes of war extend far beyond the battlefield, touching lives in ways that history often forgets to record. Now shifting our focus, we turn to the myth of Odysseus and his legendary journey home after the fall of Troy. Known for his wit and resourcefulness, Odysseus faced a series of extraordinary trials during his 10-year voyage, as immortalized in Homer's Odyssey. His journey was anything but straightforward, filled with mythical creatures, divine interventions, and seemingly insurmountable obstacles that tested his resolve at every turn. Odysseus' adventures began with the wrath of Poseidon, who sought to punish him for blinding his son, the Cyclops Polyphemus. This act of cleverness, though it saved Odysseus and his crew, set the stage for years of hardship. From navigating the treacherous waters of Scylla and Charybdis to resisting the enchanting songs of the sirens, Odysseus demonstrated both courage and ingenuity. His ability to think on his feet, such as devising the plan to escape the Cyclops by hiding under sheep or outsmarting the witch Circe, became a testament to his legendary cunning. Yet his journey was not just one of external challenges but also of internal growth. Odysseus, longing for his home in Ithaca and his family, his wife Penelope and son Telemachus, was a driving force that kept him moving forward. His homecoming, however, was far from triumphant. Upon his return, he found his palace overrun by suitors vying for Penelope's hand. Disguised as a beggar, Odysseus carefully plotted their downfall, revealing his true identity only at the perfect moment to reclaim his throne. Odysseus' story is a powerful exploration of perseverance and intelligence. His ability to adapt, endure, and outthink his adversaries has made him a timeless symbol of resilience. His journey reminds us that the path to success is often fraught with challenges, but with determination and cleverness, even the longest and most perilous roads can lead back to where we belong. As we reflect on Odysseus' trials, we see a hero shaped not just by his triumphs, but by the lessons learned in the face of adversity. His story continues to inspire, offering a rich tapestry of myth and meaning that resonates across the ages. Stepping into the broader picture, we explore the profound legacy of the Trojan War and how it has shaped cultures across centuries. This ancient conflict is not just a tale of heroes and battles, but a cornerstone of Western storytelling, influencing everything from literature to art and film. Its themes of heroism, tragedy, and the complexities of the human condition continue to resonate, making it a timeless source of inspiration. In ancient Greek and Roman literature, the Trojan War served as a rich backdrop for epic narratives. Homer's Iliad and Odyssey, for instance, immortalized the war and its aftermath, setting a standard for epic poetry that would influence generations of writers. Virgil's Aeneid, another masterpiece, drew directly from these tales, weaving the story of Aeneas into the founding myth of Rome. These works not only preserved the legends but also established the Trojan War as a symbol of the struggles and triumphs that define humanity. Beyond antiquity, the war's influence extended into Renaissance art, where scenes like the Judgment of Paris and the Fall of Troy became popular subjects. Painters and sculptors found endless inspiration in the drama and emotion of these myths, creating works that captured the imagination of their audiences. Even today, the Trojan War remains a powerful motif in modern literature and film. From adaptations of Homer's epics to original stories that reimagine its characters, the war's themes of love, loss, and destiny continue to captivate. What makes the Trojan War so enduring is its exploration of universal truths. The heroism of Achilles, the tragedy of Hector, the cunning of Odysseus, these stories reflect the best and worst of human nature. They remind us of the cost of pride, the weight of fate, and the resilience of the human spirit. As a foundational myth of Western civilization, the Trojan War has shaped how we understand storytelling, morality, and the complexities of the human experience. As we look ahead, this legacy invites us to reflect on the ways ancient myths continue to shape our world. Whether through literature, art, or film, the stories of the Trojan War remain a testament to the power of myth to transcend time and culture, offering lessons that remain as relevant today as they were thousands of years ago. Shifting our focus to the realm of creativity, the Trojan War has left an indelible mark on art and literature, serving as a wellspring of inspiration across centuries. From the earliest depictions on ancient Greek pottery to the grand canvases of the Renaissance and the imaginative retellings of modern times, this epic conflict has been reimagined in countless ways, each reflecting the values and artistic sensibilities of its era. In ancient Greece, pottery became one of the first mediums to bring the myths of the Trojan War to life. These intricate designs often featured scenes of key moments, such as the duel between Achilles and Hector or the cunning deception of the Trojan Horse. These artworks not only decorated everyday objects but also served as a visual storytelling tool, helping to preserve and disseminate the legends for generations. During the Renaissance, the Trojan War found new life in the hands of master painters and sculptors. Artists like Titian and Rubens immortalized its dramatic moments, capturing the tension, emotion, and grandeur of the myths. The judgment of Paris, the fall of Troy, and the heroism of its warriors became popular themes, celebrated for their timeless appeal and moral complexity. These works not only showcased technical brilliance but also reflected the Renaissance fascination with classical antiquity. In literature, the Trojan War has been a source of endless fascination. Beyond the ancient epics of Homer and Virgil, poets, playwrights, and novelists have revisited its stories, offering new perspectives and interpretations. Shakespeare, for instance, drew inspiration from the war in his play, Troilus and Cressida, exploring themes of love and betrayal with his signature depth. In the modern era, authors like Madeline Miller and David Gemmell have reimagined the war's heroes, bringing fresh insights to their struggles and motivations. Even in contemporary art and media, the Trojan War continues to captivate. Films like Troy and television series such as Troy, Fall of a City bring its legends to new audiences, blending historical drama with modern storytelling techniques. Graphic novels, operas, and even video games have embraced its themes, proving that the war's appeal is as universal as ever. What makes the Trojan War such a timeless source of inspiration is its ability to speak to the human experience. Whether through the brushstrokes of a painter, the words of a poet, or the lens of a filmmaker, its stories of heroism, tragedy, and resilience continue to resonate. As we reflect on its enduring presence in art and literature, we're reminded of the power of myth to transcend time, offering lessons and insights that remain relevant in every age. Transitioning to our final thoughts, we've journeyed through 20 fascinating myths of the Trojan War, each revealing a unique layer of this epic conflict. From the divine intrigue of the Apple of Discord to the tragic fall of Troy, these stories collectively shape our understanding of heroism, fate, and the complexities of human nature. They remind us how deeply the war's themes resonate across time, offering timeless lessons about love, pride, sacrifice, and the consequences of our choices. The enduring appeal of these myths lies in their ability to reflect the human experience in all its beauty and tragedy. Whether it's Achilles' wrath, Cassandra's ignored prophecies, or the cunning of the Trojan horse, these tales continue to captivate because they speak to universal truths. They show us that even in ancient stories, we can find echoes of our own struggles, triumphs, and moral dilemmas. As we wrap up, we'd love to hear from you. Which of these myths stood out the most? Did you find a new perspective on a familiar tale, or discover a story you hadn't heard before? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the Trojan War, don't forget to explore more of our ancient mythology content. If you found this journey through mythology as fascinating as we did, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a story. Together, let's keep uncovering the timeless tales that shape our world. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next adventure.